Today we're going to be talking about inner child healing. This is one of the most important parts and processes of your healing journey. And this is very important because you have to go back in time and know your child's self. And when you're a child, your childhood years are the most important years of your entire life because that's going to determine how you handle everything in your life. And this is probably the most sensitive years of your life because how you are treated and how you are handled by your parents, your family, and people around you is going to determine how you see the world forever. And when you heal your inner child, it's going to bring up a lot of things. And a lot of people who go through their inner child healing, they get confused because they're like, I don't remember this. And all this stuff is coming up. But it's because when we are children and we go through traumatic experiences, the brain blocks out the traumatic experience like a shadow, and it kind of hides in your brain, but you don't really remember it because during that time, it's too much for a child to process emotionally. So the brain just completely blocks it out. But then when you heal, all the traumatic experiences you had as a child come back up. And you don't remember, but it's been there the whole time. It's just been hiding there because now your brain can handle and process the traumatic experience. When I went through my inner child healing, there was a lot of things that were coming up, and it was like, why am I feeling this way right now? Why am I feeling so emotional about something that happened when I was a little kid? But it's because now you're finally expressing and feeling the emotions, and you're finally processing it. It doesn't matter if it's been 20, 30, 40 years. Finally now your brain is allowing you to feel and process whatever you felt, even if it was when you were a child. Especially after you awaken, you just unlearn everything, and you have to unlearn everything that your family taught you growing up, and you become yourself rather than the person that society wants you to be. Children are very intuitive and they are free. And I feel like as we grow into this society, we just forget who we are and we disconnect from ourselves because they completely shut you down from your inner freedom that you had as a child. And now they are telling you, you can't do that. You can't do this. You can't cry. You can't express your emotions freely. You can't think for yourself. You have to think how the society wants you to think. And slowly as we grow up, we completely lose ourselves and we become this robot into society. And we want to please everybody, and we don't feel worthy enough to just be yourselves, because you have now been completely programmed and you just don't know who you are anymore. After you find your soul and you awaken to your true self, you connect back into that inner child and you feel that freedom again. You feel that creativity again. And you are connecting to that little boy or that little girl that is just been waiting for you to realize who you really are, so you can set yourself completely free. It doesn't matter what age you are, you can heal your inner child at any time. It takes a lot of courage to do that, because you're visiting your past, and a lot of dark memories or traumatic experiences that you had as a child might come up. But you need to connect with every part of yourself, because your inner child wants to be heard too. And it wants to be seen by you. Remembering who you are. That's how you're going to remember your inner child. That's how you're going to give attention to that part of yourself. Especially if you grew up in a childhood where your parents didn't really give you that much attention or time of day. You can go back and you can heal your inner child, and you can give your inner child that love that it never had before. And you can love yourself in that place. And you can tell your inner child that it was always worthy of love. And that's why a lot of people in today's society, they feel unworthy or they feel unloved, and it all ties back to your childhood. Every single problem that people have in relationships especially, it really ties back into their childhood. Everything, because that determines how the rest of your life is going to be, and how you see the world, and how you interact with other people, and the assumptions you have about how people are going to treat you and how they view you. And it all starts with the parents and the family. And I feel like your parents are the first two people in your life to show you love. And if you lived in a household, or if you had a childhood that your parents weren't together, or you only lived with one parent, it's very hard for a child to not have a healthy image of how good relationship is supposed to look like. When a child doesn't see that, the child learns from their parents and their toxicity, and it repeats again in their future relationships that they have with other people. I've seen this a lot with people who raise their child away from the other parent, and then the other parent is not there with them, and one of the parents puts the child against the other parent. It's like this whole battle that the child is between. And I personally had this in my life when my parents separated when I was like 6 or 7, and I lived with my mom and my dad lived in another country. And after my mom and my dad separated, I would ask my mom to talk to my dad, and my mom would tell me that my dad didn't love me and my dad didn't want to talk to me. And then when I was 11 years old, I reconnected with my dad and I talked to him, and he told me that that he's always called me and wanted to talk to me, but my mom was mad at him at the time, and she didn't want me to talk to him because of their personal issues. And that really hurt me because as a little girl, I thought that my father didn't love me because I believed in what my mom was telling me. And for a child, that's really hurtful. And I healed that part of my inner child, especially after I found out the truth. And after I found out the truth, I completely changed as a person, and I have love for both of my parents. Even if they're not together, I love both of my parents, and I forgive my parents for any trauma and anything, because at the same time, these are experiences that we are meant to go through as souls to make us stronger and make us experience more, and so we can learn more. So remember that as souls, even the trauma in our life, we ask for it for soul growth. So on a deeper level, you understand that, and you make peace with your past, and you make peace with your mom, your dad, and the very specific people in your life, in your childhood. And you can understand that from a deeper level, and you can move on with your life peacefully and make amends at peace, even if you don't talk to your parents. It doesn't matter. You just make peace, and so you can have peace in your own life, so you can make peace with your inner child, and so you can live a peaceful life and a healthy life, and you can navigate your relationships with other people in a healthy way that benefits others. When you heal and break the generational curses of your family, you can teach your children that. You can teach your children healthy ways of loving, healthy ways to be in connections and relationships and friendships with people, because you broke that cycle in your family. And I feel like for me, like, I am breaking a lot of generational curses and cycles in my family, and I've taught my family a lot of things about self-love and being yourself. And I feel like I'm one of those people in my family that have taken the courage to be their authentic self regardless. And that was scary because you care about what your family thinks about you, because these are very important people in your life. And for me, when I began my self-love journey, I had to put myself first. I had to say, it doesn't matter if they're my family. I'm going to do what makes me happy at the end of the day. And living unapologetically yourself. And it doesn't matter if it's your family, if it's your mom, if it's your dad. Sometimes when you want to be your happiest, you have to kind of rebel to what your mom and your dad have to say or what they want for you. And a lot of people, they want to please their parents because that's the only way that they feel worthy. And I've seen a lot of stories about people who choose career paths just because they want to please their parents, but that's not the way that you should do it, because you shouldn't do what makes other people happy, even if it's your parents. And it doesn't matter if you disappoint your parents, because at the end of the day, you have to think about yourself and you have to think about your life. and who you are and what you want for yourself. And even if it makes your parents mad, you have to rebel to that and do what makes you happy, because this is your life. And if you don't do what makes you happy, you're gonna be unhappy living a life that somebody else wants for you. You should always live your life authentically, like you want to, even if it disappoints people around you, because I feel like at the end of the day, they're gonna have respect for you. And I chose to live my life differently than my family in many ways. Religiously, physically, even I act differently. It's like everything, when you're controlled by your parents, but it's like I've just been me, and nobody can control me, and nobody can take that power that I have over my life. And I feel like over time my family has respected me for that, because I'm standing my ground and knowing who I am and stepping into my power and taking control over my life. That's very powerful.